Welcome to Gambling with an Edge. And now, here are Bob and Richard.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Gambling with an Edge. I'm Bob Dancer.
And I'm Richard Munchkin.
Our guest today is Seth Palansky, the editor-in-chief of WorldSeriesOfPoker.com. And we're talking about this year's World Series of Poker, which begins in a few days. We'll be talking to Seth in a few moments. Gambling with an Edge has been going on for a little more than 6 years now. Some of the earlier shows have not been available on podcasts. Richard's been working on fixing this. What's the status, Richard?
Okay, so we had a number of broken links. I've had a number of emails, people requesting specific shows. Unfortunately, as of now, the first 6 months that were the shows with Frank Nealon, I have no access to wherever those shows are. So unless a listener happens to show up and say, hey, I have those shows on my computer and I can give them to you, those shows may be gone completely. The rest of the links, I think I have found all of them and fixed them on gamblingwithanedge.com and on richardmunchkin.com. So I don't have access to bobdancer.com. So if you are looking for an episode with a broken link, try gamblingwithanedge.com first. If it doesn't work there, try richardmunchkin.com. If neither of those works, then email me at gamblingwithanedge@gmail.com and I will find it. I think I can have, I think I have access to every episode once I started with the show.
Good. All right, that's good. And I know the guys that who have bobdancer.com, so maybe we can get you together and fix that too.
Well, yeah, I mean, if they're willing to do the fixing. It's a lot of tedious work to fix all those links. So.
Okay. Seth Palansky has been editor-in-chief of the WSOP for the last 8 years. Prior to that, he worked for the NFL media department. Seth Palansky, welcome to Gambling with an Edge.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, guys.
The World Series of Poker really grew after Chris Moneymaker, and it really shrunk after Black Friday. How do you predict World Series of Poker attendance this year compared to last year or maybe 5 years ago?
Sure. Truth is, we've been on a nonstop upward trend since the Moneymaker effect. Last year was our biggest year ever. We had over 107,000 entries for the summer events. Only the second time we've eclipsed 100,000 players, which the year before that was when we did it for the first time. So we awarded over $221 million in prize money last year, which was the second most ever, and the most for a year which we didn't have $1 million buy-in event. So things are going real well, and we expect the 48th annual, which kicks off here very soon, to be another successful event.
You know, at first when you said that, I was my brow furrowed, but I realized I think a lot of times in the media they just report the number of entries in the main event, but you're talking about the total of all the events. That's
correct. You're right. Some people just say, hey, the big event that's on ESPN, the main event, and they chart the health of poker based on that one event.
Actually, I think your metric is a better one.
Yeah, we look at the overall numbers and the average number of entries per event as really a way of understanding supply and demand and whether we need to have more events or less events and what's being played and what isn't and what games are out of date and what games do we need to add and things like that. Now, the main event is a good indicator, but it's a $10,000 buy-in event. There's only so many people with that much disposable income. We've had over 6,000 entries every year since 2006. It ends up between 6,000 and 8,000 every year. We did adjust our laws, our rules and regulations in 2007 based on the 2006 law that went into effect. And then Black Friday, actually, we had a great year the year Black Friday hit. It was like all the poker players didn't have online poker to play anymore, and they showed up more than ever. And that was our second highest number of main event entries that we've had since 2006. So all is well. We had an uptick of 6%, I think, in the main event last year, and it's pretty much held steady right around 6,500, give or take.
You mentioned that you adjust which things to get rid of and what new things to bring in. So what has changed this year? What events are gone and what new events are you?
Yeah, sure. We have 8 new events on the schedule, but what we've really done is expanded the price points. It used to be kind of an elitist competition, the World Series of Poker, only available to those that had a big enough bankroll to play it. Now we kind of try to hit all markets. The weekend warrior who only comes to play one event, the bucket list player, the professional player, and all that in between. So we have a $333 online bracelet event this year on WSOP.com and a $365 no limit event this year live at the Rio. So that's the lowest price point we've had since a ladies event in 1984. So we tested the $500 price point a couple years ago to great success with the Colossus event, drew the largest field size. Over 22,000 players participated in that one event. And we've recognized that, hey, we got to be able, there's a market out there, and we got to be able to hit it and give everyone a chance to win a bracelet.
And what are you taking away this year?
We've taken away basically events that don't perform up to the standards you'd expect. I can't even remember off the top of my head, of what those are. But suffice to say, they won't be missed too much because they weren't played too much.
Yeah, the only ones I'm really missing is the media event. The only time I've ever won anything in any tournament in my life was a media event, and I actually happened to knock Seth out and got headphones because he had a bounty on him. It's the only time I have ever won anything.
Well,
and so I'm grateful he's forgiven me enough to come on the show. That was several years ago.
And thank you very much for extending my winless streak in that event, which is the only event I play each year, and I failed to win it.
That was the year Andy Duke posted it and then had the nerve to win it. So,
yeah, that was a bad year. I thought you were going to take my chips and win it all, Bob.
Well, from your mouth to God's ears. All right. The biggest change this year is the elimination of the November 9. What's that all about?
Yeah, so it's funny. That's kind of how it's been categorized in the media, but I sort of look at it differently. The November 9 concept, when it came about in 2008, was really about taking an event that ended, was taped, and aired 3 or 4 months later. So you knew the result if you were following along the media reports in July, but we didn't show it to you on ESPN until November, once they packaged all the 16 weeks of shows and put it all together and all that. What the November 9 really was doing a live finale, turning the main event into a live 2-3 night window on ESPN where we could declare the champion in real time. So what's
half-hour delay or something like that? Or?
Exactly, half-hour delay to conform to Nevada gaming regulations. And what's happened this year is the world has changed. When we announced this in 2008, there weren't many other options. Twitter didn't exist, and Facebook Live and Twitch and live streaming and all these other things weren't there. What we've done is ESPN is committed to more poker programming. They're going to commit to an additional 40 hours this summer of live broadcasts, starting from day one of the main event. So the main event this year will play July 8th to July 22nd, and there'll be live coverage on ESPN every day. So we're really expanding the November 9 in July to carry the event from beginning to end in a live format over that 2-week period. And we'll still have the package shows that that air in the fall for those that aren't available to watch in July or whatever the case may be, prefer the packaged versions of the show. But this is really great for us because it's expanding poker on ESPN at a time where we don't have much competition. We have a lot of competition September, November. The NFL is going, college football is going, basketball is going, hockey started, baseball playoffs. We're competing against everything in that window. And in July, none of the sports but baseball are going, and we even go over some of that all-star break there. So it's a great chance for us to expose poker to a new audience.
I think it's better, too. I was never a fan of people having months to study their opponents, prepare, hire coaches, all that stuff. So I think this is a better move for poker anyway. And I do like the idea of having the package show in November because, face it, the live shows can get really boring. And are there new rules about the clock? I mean, because that's one of the problems with trying to air things live is guys just go in the tank forever. I know Daniel Negreanu is a big proponent of trying to speed play up.
Yeah, we have made an adjustment to our sort of pace of play rules. It's very difficult, you know. We've had, a couple of years ago, we had a guy named Zvi Stern who at the main event final table was taking a long time every decision. He had never been there before. The decisions he's making are really $1 million decisions. You know, the pay scale there, to make the final table, you get $1 million, and it's $8 million up top. So every time you climb the pay ladder one spot, it's about $1 million. So we wanted to give them enough time to make the decisions they needed to make in those kind of financial situations, but it has gotten out of control at some points again.
I have no beef with a guy who literally is trying to make $1 million decision. The problem is I think there are quite a number of players who think I'm on TV and I want to get as much time with my face on TV as possible. Yeah,
well, I blame you guys in the media, right? This is what happens. You expose them, and then everyone follows what they see on TV, right? That's really what's kind of gone on here. It's not an epidemic by any means, but our rules needed another look and tightening, and essentially we're going to give you typically 30 seconds to make a decision, and if you become a habitual staller, we call it, we won't give you any time, and we'll give you escalating penalties to force you to play faster and not sort of try to intimidate or irritate your fellow players at the table.
Colossus tournament is one with a lot of rebuys, which helps boost the number of entries up there pretty good. Now, what is the Colossus and how is it different this year than last year?
Yes, so this will be the third running of the Colossus. It's our opening weekend event. So, we have Memorial Day weekend, then we open the World Series of Poker, and the following weekend, the opening weekend of June, is the Colossus. It's a $565 no-limit hold'em event that we guarantee the winner $1 million, and we guarantee the prize pool to be $8 million or more. So
Friday is the first day? Friday?
Yeah, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, next weekend. So what this does is gets everyone out. I mean, how many opportunities can you turn $565 into $1 million in 4 days? So it's a great price point for everyone, and it's set the record the past 2 years for the two largest tournaments. We had anywhere from 14 to 16,000 unique players in this event, and 21 to 22,000 total entries the past couple years for it.
Really, I would have thought the number of rebuys would have been significantly higher than just that.
You know, it really isn't. It works into 1.5 times the number of re-entries. It's not really a pro-geared event. This is more an amateur weekend warrior event, and so they fire their one bullet. Typically, some fire a second, but you don't see more than that for most of the players in the event.
Now you also have a giant tournament. Now that's going to last more than a month. How's that different than the Colossus?
Sure. So that's unique, and it was kind of born out of the Colossus directly. The giant will have a $365 price point, so that's lower than Colossus. What we did with Colossus last year is we paid out people on day one. We got into the 15% range is what we pay out all World Series of Poker events, the top 15% finishers. So that event is structured fast enough that we reach the final 15% on day one. That helped us fit in 22,000 people because we have 500 poker tables, and that we can accommodate 5,000 players at once. And to get 20,000, we have several flights. So Giant is going to work where day ones are every Friday night at 7 p.m. We have these people that come in specifically for the weekends. They work. They have full-time jobs. They can get out here for the weekend. They arrive Friday evening. They may want to play something. This event, your day one is every Friday night at 7. You can choose any of the 5 Fridays in June to play it. And the day two for anyone who survives Friday's opening flight will be on July 7th, the day before the main event. So it's geared to get everyone who just has limited amount of time a chance to play. And you can cash in it, and you will still keep your chips and play for the rest of the prize pool on day two. It's a little nuanced, but it works out. All the math, all the money goes into the prize pool. Nothing changes in regards to that.
So wait, let me just clarify. So if you get through your first night, you come back in July, and then what happens in July? How many people are left in July? So
we don't know how many people are going to show up for this event, but with this buy-in level being so low, we expect it to do quite well. And what will happen is anyone who survives to day two, which will be about 10% of the field, we'd guess, they will play their day two for the rest of the prize pool with the final table on day 3 of that event. So we expect somewhere about 2,000 players left for day 2 to play down to a winner over those couple days right prior to the main event. Yes.
Yeah.
Now, when Colossus is going on, nothing else is going on because you're using all the tables for Colossus. Now, this Giant is a lower price point, so presumably it's going to attract more people, but there are other events going on at the same time, so you do not have all 500 tables. Is that right?
That's correct. You're right about that. So the good thing is our events start at 10 or 11 each morning typically, and our afternoon events start at 3 p.m. now. So by 7 p.m. we have the majority of tables available, or enough of the tables. So we could seat probably 3,000 to 3,500 per these Friday night flights, which, based on the amount of people in other events or getting into town and available, that's about what we're anticipating for the Giant on a regular basis.
Okay. So, very good. Let's go on to a different one. $10,000 buy-in, no limit hold'em, tag team competition. Each team has 2 to 4 players. Now, let's say Richard screwed up on his medication and invited me to be his partner on this, and also assumed that he is significantly better than me. Could it be that we both entered, but he did all the playing? How does this work?
You must play at least one orbit, each of the players on the team. So one orbit is classified as 9 hands around the table, in essence. You have to start big blind to big blind.
There are sometimes short tables or something.
Yeah, so one orbit at your table, so it may be shorter. That's all you're required to play through individual. We started this event last year at a $1,000 buy-in level, and it was the most fun event of the summer. You don't think of poker as a team event, and in reality, this isn't team in the general sense. It's like wrestling. One guy in the ring at all times with another guy standing by ready to be, tapped in when the guy in the ring needs a break. So this is kind of the concept. We want to have more fun at the poker table, and we've lost some of that fun element previously, and this was great for we had fathers and mothers and sons and daughters playing as a 4-person team. We had, best friends from college. We had all, 2 brothers, 2 sisters, all that kind of stuff. It's great.
Now, what's the price point on this?
We have 2 events this year. We have the $1,000 buy-in event, and we've added a $10,000 buy-in event to this as well.
Now, can the partner sit behind and sweat I can see this leading to all kinds of problems.
Yeah. Don't do that.
Yeah, we have a little bit of rules to be played. We can't have chaos all around the table, but they're close enough. People can see and stand by. What's different about the $10,000 event, we play it kind of like an Ironman. There's no breaks in this one because when you're tired, you want to tap out, get your partner in there. No dinner break, no extended breaks at all, so you want to have someone standing by to fill in for if you need.
Are partners allowed to talk to each other during a hand?
Well, Yelling, encouraging, all that, yes. Discussing the contents of a hand, no.
Okay.
Can't you see Daniel is bluffing there? Yes. All right. Marathon. A marathon lasts 26.2 miles. Now you have a marathon tournament where you start with 26,200 chips. How is this different than other no-limit hold'em tournaments?
Yes. I think they named this after me because I won a bet in our office, and I ran the marathon this past November, the Rock and Roll Marathon, something I'll never, ever do again. But I survived somehow. So I think the tournament director was encouraged by that idea of length. And really, this is a big benefit for players who like to take their time. You're going to have 100-minute levels instead of 60-minute levels, so you get each level lasts longer, and you will have 26,200 chips.
Instead of 10,000,
Yeah.
instead of 20,000, instead of
Yeah.
what?
Well, the buy-in typically at a 1,500 level, they get 7,500 chips. So 2,500, they get 12,000. It's more than double the starting chips, and the duration of the levels from 60 minutes to 100 minutes means that this event will play really slow, which obviously there are players who really like that. They can pick their spots more and not be forced into action.
Are they going to just run it until it's over and you have to stay awake for 47 hours? Or
That sounds like a marathon.
It should work like that, but they will get breaks, but it will take 5 days to complete this event instead of our typical 3. So it will. There's some players, we have the other side of events, turbos, that are really fast, that finish in a day or two, which is considered fast. For us, for the people who like that, they like the action and the more gambling element of it. And something like the marathon is designed for those who really, enjoy having a big chip stack and taking their time and using it.
Okay. In the past, the main event was always the last event. This time, that doesn't seem to be the case. Why did you make the change?
We've gone back and forth on that. And we're a bit confined in our schedule. I mean, we have 74 events. It lasts 7 weeks. I've worked every sporting event there is in the world, and no other sporting event lasts 7 weeks. Not the Olympics, not the Super Bowl, not anything else. So this is quite an endeavor. But that said, it's really geared around the weekends where you can get the masses in here, right? The pro player who does this for a living, they're here all summer. They can grind all week. But we run out of weekends at the WSOP. So what we've really tried to do is take advantage of the main event, which is a long event, 10 days, because those have 200 or 2-hour levels and 50,000 in starting chips. That's the best tournament structure in the world. But so we've added just one event after the main event to capture all those folks that may have been eliminated in the main event and want to take one last shot while that event slowly reaches its final table.
But it's a big drop event, isn't it?
It's the little 1-for-1 drop, so $1,000 buy-in that has a charity component attached to it. That's been a very popular event, gets 4,000 to 5,000 players every year, and we moved it into that slot last year, and it did real well. And there's a whole host of people. They kind of make their plans to win the main event. When you enter the main event, you're only thinking about winning it. And unfortunately, not only one guy does. So all those others are now available to participate in another event because they've made their reservations to go back later. And so we've got this one last event, kind of the last chance.
All right. We are talking to Seth Palansky from the World Series of Poker. We're going to have a brief commercial break, and then we have several more questions for Seth when we come back. South Point has more than 10,000 games, returning more than 99%. This is more than anyone else has. Beginning June 1st is a half-price gas and or food promotion. Earn $50 Chevron cards or $50 Smith's cards for half price for points earned and redeemed in June. Usually, 8,334 points is worth $25 in cash or free play. In June, it's worth $50 gift cards. Maximum 10 cards total per month. In any sort of mix between Chevron and Smith. Coming Monday, May 29th, Memorial Day, there will be double points for video poker and bigger multiplies on the reels, midnight to midnight, no limits, no machines excluded. At videopoker.com, it's the best place to play lots of games. If you sign up for the gold membership, $8.95 a month or $79.95 a year, this allows you to get correction on most of the games. The game of the week is Super Draw 6-Card Poker. This is a 10 coins per line game where you make your decision based on 5 cards dealt, and then you get an extra card on the draw for each line. There are extra pay schedule categories such as 6-card Royal, Straight Flush, Flush, and Straight, also 2 3-of-a-kinds, and also 3 pair. All right, we're back to Seth Palansky. Before we talk to Seth, there's, on the World Series, there's poker news out there. Todd Brunson and Max Pescatori have purchased a Italian restaurant 5 minutes from the Rio called Roma Deli. This, I assume, is going to become a poker hangout. What would that?
Yeah, it sounds like that's what's going to happen. That's what they want to happen. That's why they're getting the word out now, just ahead of the World Series. So, hopefully, we'll try to get Todd Brunson on here to talk about that and poker in general.
Todd would be a great guest. His old man wouldn't be too bad.
Yeah.
All right. You an Italian food lover, Seth?
Yeah, look at me. I mean, I understand what Todd and Max are up to here. Those guys are big boys like me. I would trust them with food. So if they've opened a deli, there must be a reason why they want to keep it going.
Those big boys would not have run a marathon. So you're not in the same big boy category as those guys.
Yeah, it was already open, and they say they're not changing the name and they're not changing the food. And I've eaten there before, so it's good food.
Max is Italian, so he should know his Italian food.
All right. WSOP.com. Now, this is the first time you've had an online World Series poker tournament, or in the WSOP. Is that correct? A bracelet tournament in the during the World Series. Is that correct?
This is the third. This will be the third year we're doing it, but we've only offered one a year in the previous 2 years. So this will be the first time we've expanded on that. There's 3 online bracelet events because, as you know, in Nevada, real money online poker is legal in the state. WSOP.com is the only operator in the state currently offering poker, and so we have a $333, a $1,000, and a $3,333 buy-in event to kind of hit all points of the market.
Bring your own computer.
Bring your own computer. You know, mobile friendly now. You wouldn't believe how many people are playing live poker and playing online poker at the same time. They can do it, and you know, WSOP.com awards over 1,000 seats to the live-based events. That's part of the great synergy that you can offer when you have an online and a live offering. So the online crew has all these satellite events. You can win your seat into the next day's tournament that you're playing in, or next week's tournament, whatever the case may be. They'll award over 1,000 of those this summer, and we've given them 3 of their own events to offer as well. But the players... you know, a lot of today's players we're very international focused. We had 107 different countries have participants in the WSOP last year. I mean, this game, while it may not be taking off in the United States because of the laws here, it's growing around the globe. Brazilians and Norwegians and Italians and Spain, France, Portugal. I mean, it's really taken off in other parts of the world. So we have to have an offering that caters to that audience, which a lot of them who are played the game the last decade have almost solely played online poker because there's not much live poker where they're from.
Now, did you say if they're playing a live World Series of Poker event they can have their cell phones on the table playing in the online event at the same time?
Yes, that's correct. I mean, most of the online events are well timed to be a few hours after the start of the live events, because, people bust out as the tournaments go about. But people do both regularly. But most now, the first year, we didn't have a mobile product. We only had a computer-based product. Saw people with their laptops at the live poker table. Now it's pretty much primarily mobile or tablet that people use at the table. And these guys, this is what they do. They play poker, so they want to do it all.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I've been at tables. I'm not much of a poker player, but I have been at tables when somebody's cell phone rings and the dealer says take it somewhere else or turn it off. And so they could not be using the cell phone at the table. But apparently the World Series is different.
Well, you can't talk on your phone at the table, and you can't do several other things at the table, communicate with any other players at the table via your device and things like that. You basically, if you're in a hand, you must act in proper time and respect to the table that way. But a lot of people read books, listen to podcasts, listen to music, play online poker. I mean, these guys, the generation today, they're so digitally connected with everything they do that you have to have this offering for them because this is their expectation. They play 12, 14, 16 online poker games simultaneously. You should see their setups. They have 2 computers next to each other in their houses with 8 tables on each on the screen, and they somehow can keep up with 16 games at once. And they're a little bored by one poker live game with dealers, real dealers, and, not everything automated like online. So this is a way to keep them engaged.
Yeah, it's hard for me to imagine somebody multitasking lots of online tournaments while they're in a live tournament at the same time. That sounds tough.
Yeah, and by the way, I should mention the Nevada laws, you have to be inside Nevada borders to play, but you don't have to be a Nevada resident. So anyone can register, deposit, withdraw from wherever they are, but you can only play when you're inside Nevada's border. So we have a lot of these players that are really seasonal players. When they're in for the World Series of Poker, they have their online account and they play at the same time.
How are they loaded up with money? Do they go to the real cashier, or how do they do it?
They can do that at any Caesars cashier. We allow that, but they can also fund it from wherever they're located. You just can't physically play in an event
You can use
outside Nevada borders. So a lot of guys fund ahead of time or put money on when they're at the Rio cage.
Okay. One bottleneck in big tournaments is registering. Will there be any shortcuts to that this year?
Well, certainly there are shortcuts for Diamond and 7 Stars players always. We've greatly improved our online registration system. We've added kiosks to process people who have online registered. We really, amazingly, did not have issues last year introducing this new system. So we're very confident now. We've added cage windows. We've done everything we possibly can. We're hindered a little bit where we can't have completely digital transactions because the laws require us to verify your identification, verify your age, and do some of those things. So by you putting it somewhere online and checking the box that you are 21 years and older, we still have to verify it once you're in person. So the transaction times are greatly reduced now for the folks who go online and register there, and it's really just a verification of who they are in person. They can fund online ahead of time even. So this has really sped things up. We had problems with Colossus first year, be honest. We didn't expect 22,000 people to show up for that event. It was the first time we offered it. It blew the doors off, and opening weekend is always a tough weekend as new people, training staff, all that sort of thing. We have a very experienced, good team now. Last year, one of the biggest surprises were people complain, like, there's no line. What's going? They think it's dead. They think, uh-oh, where is everyone? No one's here. No, they're all in their seats. 5,000 seats are filled in the building. No one's waiting around. So I feel very comfortable and confident that that those issues are behind us.
I don't understand what you said. I mean, what you said about the law. I mean, why is it that this tournament they have to do all this verification, but other tournaments and casinos in Nevada you can play completely anonymously? I mean, unless you win, at which point you have to fill out a,
Yeah, no, I mean, you have to age verify people. You have to...
I mean, if you go play in any of the casinos on the Strip, one of their weekly tournaments or whatever, there's no... You don't need ID, you don't need,
Well, you can imagine the scrutiny on us. We have Nevada regulatory agents out on property, both undercover and not doing checks throughout the summer. Obviously, we're televised on ESPN. There's a lot of eyes on us, and we've always done things, erring on the side of caution there. And these things are just steps that no matter what we do, because we want to give people an e-wallet, right? Fund your e-wallet and pay directly into the event. We'll give you the list of events and do that. We can't get there because of these laws that are... We can get what we've gotten is about 80% of the way there, and there's still just an in-person step. But once you've done it once, for example, say you funded and you're playing 10 events, the first time you show up, we'll verify your age, we'll verify your ID, we'll verify your credit card, because you can pay with a credit card online. You can't do it live. It's against the rule, but you can do it online. So we'll do all that the first event. And once you've verified and we got you in the system as verified, you can do everything else, going to a kiosk, printing your seat cards, printing your receipt, and going to your table. So,
and pay.
Yeah, but because you've pre-funded in essence, but yes.
Can you transfer money from your WSOP account to the tournament itself?
You can't take from online WSOP.com to live, but you can fund your...
a tournament account.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So it's gotten better because those things are new in the past couple of years, and last year was a big expansion of that. That's made things. But still, a lot of people don't take advantage of that. That's really the issue now, is a lot of the international players take advantage of it. They don't want to carry with a lot of money and all that stuff. A lot of the local guys, they're in action or out of action, depending on how they did in the cash game the night before, whatever the case may be, and don't know necessarily what they're going to play. But the pre-planners take advantage of this, and that saved us immensely.
There's, I just thought of something. I didn't pre-warn you that this question is coming, so it may not be on the tip of your finger. I'm 7-star in the tournament system, in the Caesar system, and each 7-star gets a companion card, one companion card per 7-star. Let's say Richard is not in the 7-star system, or not a big player at all, but I make him my companion. Does that 7-star companion card allow him access to the Diamond and 7-star line?
I do not know the answer, Bob. I am no total rewards expert. I mean, well, if you have the card, you get into our line to buy an event. Yes, you're just flashing your card. So if it's simply that, I don't know if you can go into the lounge. I don't know how those things work.
Oh, you definitely can go into the lounge.
Other perks, okay.
You definitely go in the lounge. It does say companion card. It's the same color,
okay,
but it does say companion card.
You'd get past security, no problem, and into the Diamond 7-stars line.
All right. Good. So,
actually, here's another question that you weren't prepared for, but it just occurred to me. Not a big problem for you guys at the tournament, but problem for many of our listeners is, many of our listeners are or were at one time card counters. And unlike other casinos, Caesars has had a policy of actually 86ing those people. And so there have been quite a few people who would like to be able to play in the tournament, but they aren't allowed because they were 86 because 10 years ago they were a card counter playing blackjack. Has the tournament thought about trying to get any kind of dispensation for these people?
So in those instances, actually, you can get waived for poker. So Andy Block, maybe I shouldn't be mentioning names, but he's a famous
we know
MIT.
Andy's been on the show, and it would not surprise people to think
Yeah,
that
yeah,
he's been
no,
86
we've had
for
quite a few
blackjack.
people on the show
Right.
who've actually brought up this very issue that,
So he plays at the World Series of Poker every year. He's received a waiver to be able to play poker because basically card counting is not a factor in poker,
Right.
And it's a peer-to-peer game, not versus the house.
Yes.
And so almost anyone who truly is in that designation will be granted a waiver if they apply to be able to.
And how do
play.
you apply for that waiver? What do you do?
Well, I know when there's security issues who you go through for security. I'm not exactly sure who, but reaching out to our tournament staff office, they will be able to assist and help direct anyone to get that. So 702-777-7885 is the tournament staff office for the World Series of Poker. And I'm sure anyone who falls in that category that wants to play poker, I'm not sure it can be turned around in 48 hours per se. I'm sure there's a process, but for long-term thinking here, it's no problem.
Okay, great.
And this is presuming they were kicked out for being too skillful and not for doing...
Yeah, they're not a thief or
They're
something.
not
Yeah,
a chip thief or something.
Right. I mean, we get a lot of security incidents at our properties, and Caesars is very tough. You know, you do something at our property in Biloxi, Mississippi, and it's going to be a company-wide ban for you. And some of these guys make their living playing poker, don't think about their night of alcohol and consequences, and then they find themselves not able to play in the World Series of Poker. In cases like that, our staff is powerless to help. You know, that's a security issue or an insurance liability issue, depending on what it is. And in those cases, it's much tougher to get back in because Caesars just errs on the side of, hey, if we had one incident with you and we have a record of it, and then you come back and something else happens, the liability for the property is too significant to take the risk. We'd rather lose the business than put ourselves in a risky situation, which may sound funny for a business that's all about risk, but that's the way it works.
Well, they try to take as much risk out of it as possible.
Correct.
Several years ago, in the women's tournaments, it became... There were several guys who thought, well, the law just doesn't prohibit me from playing, so I'm going to enter the women's tournament. And a year later, they got passed a rule, something like it cost $10,000 to enter, but if you were an actual woman, $9,000, you got a $9,000 rebate anyway. So, and that eliminated that particular problem. Is that still going on, or how's the status of that?
It's still going on. It's funny. I'm sort of the architect of that, and it really comes about because I'm the vice president of communications for the World Series of Poker. So ultimately, every year when these men were playing in the women event, it drew a lot of media attention and kind of negative media attention. And I was frustrated with, come on, how can we keep men out of this event, right? That's not what is intent. We run 70 events. There's only one dedicated solely to the ladies. Can't the men stay out of this event? But they make their prop bets, or they lose, whatever the case is, they dress up as a woman. They play whatever joke they want to. But it crossed the line. A couple of years there, it really got foul and filthy with what some of these guys did. And lo and behold, I'm reading the paper one day here in Nevada, and they say, law change in Nevada as a result of gym club memberships, people being sued for having discounts for ladies and not for men, whatever. Some court case in Nevada allowed, for marketing purposes, the ability to set different pricing for men and women to attract a segment of the market that you don't otherwise attract as effectively.
Women get free drinks on Wednesday nights or something.
Yes, it's not a federal law, it's not a thing, but it's a state of Nevada where this event is held. So I immediately sent that to the lawyers, and I said, please, tell me there's a way here that we can utilize this to solve our problem at the World Series of Poker. And sure enough, I may be giving away more information than I should because it really has to be worded as this is a $10,000 buy-in event with ladies getting 90% off. And since we've done that, there hasn't been a male willing to pay the $10,000 to compete in this event that the ladies pay $1,000 for.
Go figure. And so you're planning to keep that rule for the duration?
Yes, the ladies event is a very special event for us. We have a seniors event that's very special. We kick things off with a casino employees event. I mean, and we've wanted to do an armed forces special event. We want to do a EMT, any emergency personnel, police, firefighters, all that kind of stuff. And you get thrown with a bunch of different rules and laws and things that you can and can't do. So we just want to introduce the game of poker to people who aren't typically playing it in a friendly, fun environment. And sometimes when you get men playing in a ladies' event, it certainly takes away that environment for some of the women. So it's an important event, and we want to keep it women only forever.
All right. You have a mixed Omaha tournament that's new this year. What is a mixed Omaha tournament?
Your guess is as good as mine, Bob. You're the one who knocked me out of the media tournament. You think, there's...
well, if I were running a mixed Omaha tournament, the way I would do it is would have a pot limit round and maybe an Omaha 8 round, and then maybe one where you started with 5 cards instead of 4 or some such. And
that's
you rotate
exactly what it is. You just nailed it, really. That's the 3 games. It's pot limit Omaha, PLO 8, and what we call Big O now, which is 5
PLO
cards.
8 or Omaha 8?
Omaha 8, excuse me. Omaha 8. And Big O, we call it 5 card. So those are the 3 games. So
wait, I'm not familiar with Big O. So do you have to pitch a card or before the flop, or do you play all 5, but you still play 2 from your hand and 3 from the board?
I'm the dumb PR guy.
Okay.
It's still a combination of 4 cards, if I understand it correctly.
It's either going to be 2 from your hand and 3 from the board, which is the way it is in Omaha 8, or any Omaha.
No, I understand that, but there are games where you're dealt a certain number of cards and you have to pitch one before you see the flop. I'm just not familiar with this.
Todd Brunson will answer that when he's on talking about his belly.
Well, good. That sounds great. We will call him up and say, Seth says you have to come on this show. All right. It has been a pleasure having you on this show, Seth. Anything else about the World Series of Poker that you want to tell our audience before we let you go?
One thing I like to tell people is it's free and open to the public. This is another good Nevada gaming law, right? All gaming has to be done in public, not hidden in private. And it's free. So if you're 21 years old, you can come to the Rio from May 30th to July 22nd and watch the action. And these players are great. They'll sign autographs. They'll take pictures. You can sit and stay and stand and watch as much poker as you like. We got ESPN cameras and other filming going on most of the summer. So if you've never seen this sport in person, we encourage you to come out and enjoy the scenery.
Very good. Thank you very much, Seth. Thank you, Richard. Go out and hit lots of royal flushes, everybody. Good day.